All right, welcome everybody. Very excited to kick this off with you. We have just like a really killer program planned. This will be a really interesting and exciting session. We're going to be talking about app promotion made easy. We're going to be talking about environments and promotion. We're going to be talking about a new tool, feature called products that you guys are going to love. So as we go through this, please use the chat, send your reactions. If you see something that gets you excited, say, wow, that's really cool. Give us a thumbs up, give us a smiley face or a fire emoji or whatever. Feel free to invite others to join and watch with you. Of course, a recording will be made available afterwards, so you will be able to see this again. And we'll have a number of associated materials. And we have some goodies for all of you who decided to attend live. So an extra bonus. So if you get a goodie at the beginning of the session, but your friends didn't get one, tell them that they can hurry up and join, because at the end of the session we'll have some more goodies again. So that'll be a good opportunity. That's all I'm going to tease on that for now. Just to introduce myself, or actually go through the agenda really quickly, we'll do a short intro, and then we're going to jump straight into demos with Idan, one of our product managers, our principal product manager, I should say. And then we'll have a short panel discussion with some guest speakers, and we'll jump in and play some Jeopardy, which last year was very popular and I think is going to become a staple. We'll keep doing it. As you go through, if you have questions, please use the Q&A. We've got a great team of folks who are paying attention to the Q&A. So as you ask questions, we'll have I think Laurent, Francisco, maybe Tamir, a few others who are going to be hanging out and answering questions as we go through this. And I'll be watching the chat as we go through as well. So we'll be reacting to all that stuff. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Dan Garfield. I am now the VP open source at Octopus Deploy, and co-founder and previously chief open source officer of Codefresh. For those of you who don't know, Codefresh was acquired a few months ago by Octopus Deploy, and they have enabled us to continue our mission to bring the best GitOps Kubernetes continuous delivery to you all. So I'm going to keep doing that. I'm also an Argo maintainer, and I work primarily on Argo CD and a little bit lesser extent on Argo rollouts. So I've been using the tools that we're going to be showing you today for the last couple of months. And I cannot tell you how excited I am to share it with you, because what we've been building is extremely powerful. It makes teams way more effective. And if you're a power Argo user, you've never done GitOps before, both of you are going to have really great value from this. So I think you're going to love it. And without further ado, I do want to give away our first little goodie. For those of you that haven't done the GitOps certification, we are offering a 100% off on that certification using the code Just Deploy It. This will give you, if you go down and select the bundle, it'll give you 100% off on both GitOps fundamentals and GitOps at scale. And of course, we are going to be coming out with level 3 in a few short months, probably beginning of next quarter. We'll have it ready. So hard at work on that. And if you haven't done this, training and certification includes training labs. So you actually get hands-on experience with Argo, with Kubernetes, with Git. And so you can actually create and use Argo in a totally GitOps friendly way. And this is based on all of the best practices that we've developed as Argo maintainers, as practitioners. We've helped more companies, more teams adopt Argo and GitOps than any other company in the world. We've been doing it for years now, and more diverse situations. We work with regulated industries, people doing healthcare, people doing banking, Department of Defense, those kinds of folks, as well as retail, doing Kubernetes at the edge, doing clusters, basically air-gapped. We've done that for telecoms and others. So we have a really good sense of what works and what doesn't. And so this training is going to give you the best leg up so you can be successful. All right, I'll stop talking about the certification, except to say that we are now offering Credly badges. So if you've already done the certification, you're actually going to get a notice over the next week that you can accept a Credly badge, add it to your LinkedIn profile, reshare it, and show off your credential in a much more fabulous way. I'm getting a question already from Mohammed, who's asking, how is this different from the CNCF one? I'm actually glad you asked. I worked on the CNCF GitOps certification and Argo certification, as well as this one. The CNCF certification is just a test. So there's an exam that you take in order to earn that credential. The Codefresh training and certification includes much more in-depth training and labs, in addition to a test and exam to verify your knowledge. And it also is, if you're talking about the GitOps certification with the CNCF, that only tests your knowledge of GitOps theory. It doesn't test any of your knowledge about GitOps in practice. If you're using the Argo certification, it just really tests general knowledge about Argo and not necessarily how to use it in a GitOps friendly way. So you can use Argo CD in a non-GitOps friendly fashion. And that's pretty common actually for people to do. So that's something that we focus on. So definitely check that out. If you haven't done it, you'll find that it is really hands-on and gets you completely ready to do GitOps and Argo at scale and do all the fundamentals. And you will be getting those Credly badges. Okay, so with all of that preamble out of the way, let's jump into today's topic, which is going to be enabling you to do fantastic GitOps promotions, app promotions, and we're going to invite our principal product manager, Idan, onto the stage. Idan, are you with us?
Yeah, hi Dan, thank you.
All right, Idan, take it away, and I'll ask a few questions here and there, and maybe add a little tidbit as we go through it. But I think you need to share the screen now, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so let me stop the share and pass it off to you.
so thank you everyone. Before I start sharing the screen, I want to talk about what our motivation, why we built this, and how we're excited about what we've actually built before we start diving into the demo and the screens and everything. So I think really what we were focusing in Codefresh to tackle is how to do software delivery in GitOps with Argo CD. And one of the first things that we understood is that you essentially have lots of apps in Argo CD, a bunch of apps. Everything is an app, and that forces you to build in some structure or naming conventions to organize this, and it's not really suited for what you would want to do when you're deploying software. If your developer wants to deploy the billing microservice from dev to stage, what is billing, what is dev, what is stage? Those concepts aren't very familiar and don't really exist in Argo. So this is what we wanted to focus on and start with. And let me start by sharing my screen now. And we can kind of run through what we've built here and show you. So, and we've talked about some of these concepts in a previous webinar. I just want to reiterate them and share with everyone who wasn't there. So we're starting with our environment screen. Now, this is something completely new and unique to Codefresh. And essentially, it's the first layer of organization that you would want when you have lots of applications. What applications are associated with the dev environment, with the QA, with staging? How do I build out this release structure and visualize this? So this is what we've done. So here you can see we have 4 different environments. In each environment, you can see all the apps in that environment, along with a bunch of other information, which is very cool. I'll dive into that in a bit. Now, usually the first question that we get when people see the screen is, but what is an environment? Is that a cluster? Is that an Argo CD instance? How does that work? So we really wanted this to be as flexible as possible and fit as many use cases as possible. So when you define an environment, and I'll just show you that very quickly, you pretty much can set up in any way you want. And an environment can be a combination of any number of clusters and namespaces. So in this example, the dev environment is actually built from one cluster and all its namespaces, target EU, and another cluster, just the dev namespace, and another one, KC vdev, and the third one, again, a cluster and different namespaces. So you can set up in any way that suits you, and we're also bringing in association based on labels in the future. So that makes it even more flexible, and essentially you can follow any pattern that you want. Now, one thing that you might not have seen here, but is worth mentioning, is that this is completely agnostic to any number of Argo CDs. So Codefresh provides you a single pane of glass to manage 15, 20, 100 Argo CD instances altogether if you're deploying in cluster or deploying in the spoken hub methodology. And when we talk about environments, this environment can be comprised of a cluster that clusters from 4 different Argo CDs. Anything that you want, it's completely agnostic. It's a separate layer. And again, gives you the flexibility to build out your Argos in a way that suits your security and cluster requirements, and then how your promotion in a different fashion.
Yeah, this is one of the things that, like for a sense of scale, I think about of like, if you're doing retail and you have 1,000 locations in California, that California could be an environment, and each of those clusters, each of those locations can have their own Kubernetes cluster with their own Argo CD instance, but I'm managing them now at an abstracted layer, so I don't have to think about it. So it's really cool.
Exactly. It's built for scale. And again, if you look at this screen, it's also built for scale. So we have customers that have 3,000 applications. So what happens here? Essentially, what you can do is once you have them, and again, they're split by environments, split by teams, you can filter them based on the different error messages or state, degraded, sync, whatever. And that, again, allows you to focus on the information that you want. Now, the second layer or organization that we wanted to bring into applications is essentially what we call a product. Now, usually what you can see here is you have an app. If you want to deploy your, again, building microservice to a few different environments, you're going to have an app in the dev environment, an app in QA, an app in staging, an app in production. What ties all of these apps together? What's the relationship? What's binding them together to a single entity? That's something that doesn't exist. Usually what you would do is build out some kind of naming convention. With Codefresh, we're introducing the product entity. And this is essentially what you care about, this product and how it's deployed, where it's deployed to, and how it's and all its configuration and settings into one single entity. And if you look closely here, you can actually see that we don't show the application names. We show here the product name. So billing in each environment or demo is, you can see it's the same name in each environment. But if I look closely, I can actually see that, okay, in dev, it's actually comprised of trio-dev. And in QA, it's trio app-QA. So we have that information available and you can go and deep dive into that application. But for most scenarios, you just don't need that information and you just need to know what product and what environment that is. And that's enough.
And Idan, there are scenarios where in an environment, you might have dozens or hundreds or even thousands of applications represented by a single product.
Correct. So again, going back to the retail scenario, you might have a single application for each cluster and for each tenant, and all of those in production are tied to one environment, and then a different subset are tied to staging and QA and so forth. So it's completely flexible, and you can do whatever you want. And I'll talk about additional features coming up later in this demo related to orchestrating multiple products together. So let's dive into one product and see what we have there. So I'll go into this Trio app demo application, which I really like. And now that what we did here, we drill down into a single product. And again, we have a similar view. We see this product across different environments. But now we get a bit more information, closer look. So what can you see here? And the first thing that I want to show you, and you probably saw this, is the version. Now you're probably asking yourself, what is this version? This is not something that I'm familiar with. So this is something that we came up with that we wanted to display, because if I can show you all of these applications in different environments, I want you to be able to compare them, to understand the difference between them. So what we have here is essentially a version in each environment. Now, if I go to a different product, actually, let's look at one that shows, that has different versions. Let's go to this one, the orders. So again, you can see the differences in the version deployed to each environment. And I want to go back to the tree application because this one is special now. What we wanted to do, so sometimes, and this version can be either a chart version, an app version, image tag. It's completely flexible, completely customizable. It can be whatever you need. If you're storing the version in a version.yaml file in your repo, that's fine. You can choose to display that. If you're using the Helm chart version, that's also fine. Now, when you are using Helm, we have another feature, is actually the ability to see all the dependencies of the chart and their versions as well. So if you look here, this Trio app is comprised of three different dependencies, bus log, control, and Flask, and you can see their individual versions. Now that's nice, let's compare that across different environments. So I can go and compare the dependencies across different environments and get a very easy and clear view of what are the differences between each environment. Now, we just ran a promotion here, so everything's the same. But if there were any differences, you'd see them highlighted. And why do I need this? So when a developer comes and said, hey, this worked in dev, but doesn't work in staging or doesn't work in pre-prod, this is the first thing you can see. Oh, are all the dependencies updated? Is everything correct? It's very easy to understand this, and you get the clear visualization around this. Another thing, of course, if you want to compare just two environments, you can also compare this in a diff view and a YAML view. Again, makes it very easy to see the changes across different environments. So going back into the product view, what do we have here? Essentially, we have here the latest state of each product, the latest update. So each product shows us the previous image and the new image, and what was the commit and the latest sync. And this is something that you're probably familiar with Argo CD. If I'm going to click here, I'm going to see that we updated the version file and we changed a bunch of tags of images. Unless I'm some kind of freak, I don't really know what happened here. I know that the image tag changes, but it doesn't really tell me what was changed in the application. And that's something that we were looking and seeing how can we solve, how can we give you more information to understand what actually changed here. And if you go, you see here, we can show you the Git tab here and the features tab here. This essentially lets me understand what were the differences and what was deployed in each environment. So I can actually see what the PRs were that was deployed in this environment. These are changes in the application repo, not in the GitOps repository. So if I click into this PR, I can actually see the changes here, deep links to everything. So I really have a very easy way to understand what the latest update changed in each environment. Now, if I have an issue in production, I can see who changed what was the latest PR, who worked on this, what are the commits. I have all this information at hand, and not only that, I can also tie this back to Jira tickets. So I can see.
This is well, Dan, I wanted to say this is such an important point. And actually, would you mind hitting Command plus just once or twice just to make it a little bit larger? I've got bad eyesight myself. But this in Argo CD by itself, we can only tell what's happening to the manifest. We can't tell what's happening at the binary level of how the images were updated. So the fact that I can suddenly reach into all of the Git repos for the images that are being deployed and get all that extra information, that's huge. Because suddenly now I can actually link together the changes that I'm making to my binaries to the infrastructure, which is actually where most of the problems occur. So getting that visibility, super awesome. Didn't mean to interrupt you on the Jira. I appreciate it.
No. So as Dan was saying, so you can get all the Git information, but you can also get feature tracking information. So again, we have here Jira tickets information. So again, how do you answer the question, what was the last change in production? Who did this? Is it related to the issue that I'm having with my API? Or maybe the last update was a UI. Do I need to roll this back? This is what you get here. This is what you understand. And if there is an issue, you can easily go back, open the list of all the changes in this application, see all the changes again here. I can go back to a healthy state and choose to roll this back. Now, I can't do this because I don't have permissions here, but anyone can do this. And it's such a critical information to understand what was going on, trace back the changes, and be able to roll back fast so that you go back to a steady state. Okay, so we've talked about the environments dashboard and the versions, and we've talked about the products themselves. Let's talk about what we came here to talk about, which is promotion. So let me just jump back to the Trio app, and let me show you. You can use this global search to make it a bit easier. Now, how do I promote from one environment to another? This is something that we've tackled, and it's a bit of an issue with GitOps, and it's usually what you would have to do is script everything and write the logic, and this is what we wanted to solve. So let's go to the releases tab here and see what we've done here. And right here, you can right away see all the releases, all the promotions done for this product. And you can understand what were the changes, what was deployed to each of these products. Now, looking here, I can see that this product deploys to dev, QA, staging, and production. I can see when it was successful, when it failed. Let's actually go to one that failed. Those are the ones that we care about. And now you get here a very, very clear view of the deployment process. Now, this is a complex deployment process that we have here. What do you see? What do we see here? We see that we started by deploying to the dev environment. We ran here a workflow to do some validations and tests. After everything was green and successful, we promoted to staging and QA in parallel. Again, in each environment, we ran validations before actually updating the environment and after that. And if those two were successful, we would have moved to production. But you can see QA has failed. We have one issue. And what happened? We have the post action, which was a smoke test, and the smoke test failed here. So let's understand what happened. So I can click here. I see the smoke test failed. This has Argo workflows running behind the scenes to run the smoke test. I can easily access the logs. I see here all the logs. I know what happened. I can go and fix this. This is what your developers need. They need to understand if this promotion was successful, and if not, where it failed and why it failed and how to fix this. And this is information in hand. If you really want, you can go and see the manifest of the smoke test. You can even go and see the workflow. I won't do that, but you have all this information here. Now, not only that, again, this is where you want your developers, we want your developers to live, in a sense, to understand the changes. We have here the latest update. We have the commit. We have all that information. We have the release notes. Again, all the valuable information that we showed you in the products dashboard, you have here. So you have a list of all the images that changed. You have all the JIRA issues that were affected, the pull request. All this information is at hand. You understand what this release consisted of and what it changed and if it was successful or not. Now, everyone has this to some extent. You can build this out. But let me show you how easy it is to build it out right now with Codefresh. So let's go back to the release list. And you can see here, we're actually running what is called a promotion flow. I'll click into this one. And here we actually define the process of deploying to these environments. Now, again, these can be from different Argo CDs. Any combination of Argo CD instances can be here, any number of clusters. These are your environments. Now, again, we start with dev, staging, and QA. You know what? Let's actually create a new one. So I'm going to go and create a new promotion flow. We'll start with the dev environment and then move over to staging and QA. We actually, let's replicate what we saw before from QA to production. And production, we actually want to depend both on QA and both on staging. Now we have that. Everything was built here. The UI took me 10 seconds. By the way, it's a YAML behind the screens. This is not ClickOps. Everything we do here is defined in a CRD called promotion flow, is deployed to your Git repository, is easy to maintain, easy to audit, versioned. You have all the power of that. You can do everything from the YAML itself if you want and declaratively, but we have this very easy UI and handy UI to help you get this right and to help you if there's any building it without any circular dependencies or referencing environments that don't exist or typos. Use our platform to do that. Now,
one of the things that I've loved about this, Idan, as I've been using it over the last few months, is that I can literally create this plan in the UI. It is just YAML, but it is one simple definition, and I can have it apply to all my environments. And so even though it's basically 4 steps, I can have that apply to thousands of applications, right? That even if maybe it's just one product, right? They're all part of just one product, or maybe they're part of multiple products because they have some slightly different things that they're tracking between them. But like the ability to create that and suddenly manage everything in a standardized way, just incredibly powerful. I mean, it's really been astonishing to use it.
Yeah, it's essentially one of those things that, wow, how is this so easy all of a sudden? Now,
Yeah.
let me dive deep into a bit more things that you can do here that will blow your mind. But how is this promotion working? Well, what's going on between each step? So you can actually define this. So between dev and QA, I want there to be a commit. I want an automatic promotion method. But between QA and production, I actually want to do a pull request. I want there to be a manual intervention here. I want someone to approve this pull request and only then promote to production. And not only that, before moving to staging, let's actually trigger a smoke test. So you can define all this here. Again, it's in the YAML. It's so easy. You can see here that QA depends on dev. The policy is commit. And let's just break something. So let's call this smoke test Dan. wow, I've gotten a validation error. Smoke this stand doesn't exist. So the UI makes it very, very essentially easy to build this out without any errors. And we highly recommend this. I can say that one of our lead developers was like, hey, why do I need a UI? I can just write the YAML. After we finish building this, he's like, okay, now I understand. This makes it so much easier. So this is how you build out that promotion flow. Now, let me dive a bit deeper into what's actually going on here when we're doing a promotion. And I'll go back to the environment screen to show you that. So this is something that I think we showed in the previous webinar that we had, and some of you might love what I'm going to show you, and some of you might tell me, why did you do this? That's so wrong. But I'll go into this in a second. So what you can actually do here is also drag and drop the promotion. So I can drag from one environment to another. Wow, this is nice. Let's take a different application. Let's take the interest one. Let's see that. Perfect. So essentially, when I do a drag and drop, I can see the diff and the changes that are going to be committed. Now, what's going on here behind the screen? I can see the value changes, the char YAML. Essentially, what we're doing is looking into the gear repository of one application or the products in the first environment, and then comparing that to the products in the staging environment, the QA environment, doing a diff between them, and then committing these changes. Now, I can also choose to do here a commit or a PR, use the workflows. We have policies that enforce this. So you can build out a policy that says anytime that I deploy to an environment that is of a type production, always perform pull requests. If I'm deploying changes to this product, always perform this smoke test or this workflow to validate this. So everything is available here. And so that's how that works. But you're probably wondering, okay, but I don't want to promote everything from one environment to another. I have environment variables, I have specific configuration that shouldn't get promoted. So we got your back essentially here. And let me show you how we're doing that. So let's go back again to a product and actually go to the setting tab right now. So we have here the promotion settings, and I can choose one of our pre-configured templates. So let's choose this one. And what you see here is essentially the logic that controls what gets promoted between each environment. So what you can see here, and let's focus on the properties here, is that when we promote this product from one environment to another, what we essentially do is look at the char YAML, look at this JSON path, and see if there's changes here. We look at the values YAML, we look at these 3 image tags, we see if there's changes there, we look at the version, and we see that. We only compare what you choose, what you define to do. So only the differences in these properties get promoted from one environment to another. Now, this gives you complete control over what gets promoted, and more importantly, what doesn't get promoted from one environment to another. And it's completely flexible. You can use a template that's shared across different products, or you can actually inline the configuration and write it here yourself and also preview the changes.
Now, one of the cool things about this that I've noticed is that if I'm using, let's say I'm using some kind of generator that is cluster specific, so each environment gets some special value, they can be part of the same environment and the same product, but they can still have those differences and it will not interfere with the promotion flow. And that's pretty cool because I get all the variation I want.
Exactly. Again, the whole idea here is to give you the flexibility to define whatever you want, and the power to not do that anymore, not have to script this out, have to maintain long, complex scripts that someone wrote and no one knows how to change. And so we did all the heavy lifting here. And again, so the product entity, so let me just dive into this file here and show you how it looks like. So it's actually go over here. So this is the promotion template. And again, it's a very, very simple YAML that defines when you promote, what should you check? Where should we get the version? Remember, we talked about the version in the beginning that we showed. So this is how you define where we get the value for this version. So either built-in templates that can be used across different products. And this is an example for a Helm template, or define them for specific, for customized, for vanilla resources, for any generator. That's up to you. Now, as part of the product, we can also define the promotion flows that are associated with this product. So we talked about before about the release. So I can choose here the trio flow release, and I can build in the logic when to use this promotion flow. So any commit message with promote will actually use this promotion flow. But we can also add more than one. And this is where the power is. So we can actually have a hotfix flow. This skips over all goes directly from dev to production when something's broken. And again, anytime you have a branch with hotfix in it will trigger this promotion flow. And as everything here is defined inside the product resource, everything is committed to Git. Anytime I show you something from the UI, there's a CRD behind it controlling it and making it easy to define. So
yeah, just like in Argo CD, there's like a UI where you can configure it, but it is just generating YAML. The difference though is that in Codefresh, if you save something, it's committed directly to Git, whereas in Argo CD, when you just hit save, it just pushes it to the cluster and it can potentially get lost. So that's another kind of just philosophical thing to know about Codefresh.
So exactly. So again, kind of recapping everything that we've seen here. You have the environments. This gives you an understanding. And by the way, if you notice here, there's a pending PR here. So I actually opened a PR on this application, and I can go and merge this PR and complete the promotion. So we have this here. We have also warnings and errors available here about rollouts. Of course, Argo rollouts is supported here, and you can see the progression of the rollout. So we have this view that gives you an overview of all your environments. You can dive deep into a single product and see the changes. We manage everything related to promotion. So the entire commit logic of how to promote between environments, that's on us. The logic of how to orchestrate promotion across multiple environments, that's on us. Three different simple YAML configurations that you can define from the UI if you want to, or you define them directly in Git. And then the releases screen. This is where we provide all the necessary information to understand if a promotion was successful, if a release was successful or not, and if it wasn't, why. No more having to teach developers to go into the Argo CD UI and look at all the resources and try to figure out if it was a sync error, a health error, whatever. Everything is funneled into here. Any issues with rollouts, application, workflows, commits, validations, all funneled into one very specific location where we want essentially your developers to go to and understand what's going on and potentially reduce any loads on the platform team, which is, I think, what we're all looking for. So that's it with the demo part. Dan, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think that like just this simple representation, I mean, it's just incredibly powerful. I mean, there are some questions, there's a few different approaches that people are talking about in terms of how you do environment promotion. There are a couple of things that really set Codefresh apart that are very unique. One is that this is agnostic to any number of Argo instances. So I know somebody brought up the comparison of Cargo, which is kind of instance dependent because it kind of relies on a hub and spoke approach. This does not, right? So it doesn't matter if you're using edge clusters, multiple instances. They don't have to be running the same Argo versions. They can be running different versions. That's fine. It's going to work with application sets. It's going to work with Helm charts, with customize, really anything, because at the end of the day, it's managing these all as custom resource definitions and in a single flow. There are a couple of other questions that we have in here, and feel free, folks, as we go through to look at other ones. So one of the questions that Luke has is for the reverts and rollbacks. Those end up as Git commits. Do those appear as a specific user or as a generic Codefresh bot?
Perfect. Excellent question. So when we are doing a Git revert, which is something that's coming up, it's not yet available, but that will be based on how you define. So you can either use a GitHub app to run your promotions, and then that app has access to all the repositories and is the only one in charge of doing a promotion. Or if you do a drag and drop, we actually use the personal users token to do the rollback and reverse. So it really depends on how you set it up, but essentially we support both of them.
Yeah, great.
Another comment related to the cargo comparison is that one of the main things that we wanted to do here is not only build out this method of promoting from one environment to another, but we have realized that it's not enough to just promote to the next environment. You have to validate and run tests and run smoke tests and run processes to make sure that what's in that environment is working properly. And that's something that we have built in here. We have a mechanism to trigger, and we're using Argo workflows. We're also integrating with our pipeline engine or GitHub Actions, essentially to trigger these validations that you want. And again, you can perform them before the commit. We have customers essentially copying over all their images to a different registry, and then updating that environment, and then validating that everything's worked well. So it's another key piece that we saw in real world scenario with our customers and requirements from them.
Yeah. And I would love, for people that want to do a comparison, direct comparison, we'll talk about how you can use this. If you're already a Codefresh user, you're going to have access to most of the features here that we're showing. There's a few that are going to be, I think, rolling out shortly. So I'd love to hear from you. Go try it out and tell us what you see working better, and if you see areas for improvement, like this is the time to do it. Anon asks, how does this work with Argo rollouts? And I think the answer is essentially pass through. I mean, when we mark when a promotion is done, we make a commit. The actual rollout and synchronization kicks off. And if you're using Argo rollouts, then part of the synchronization is for the app to reach healthy, is for the rollout to complete. Once everything is healthy, once everything is complete, then the promotion is marked as a success and we move on. Now, if a rollout fails, it will actually show as kind of a failed deployment, and then you can automatically roll back. Right, Dan? Is there anything you'd add to that?
Correct. And you can see exactly, you'll have a clear message here in this view, why the rollout failed, how it's progressing, what step it is during the rollout. So everything is, again, funneled over here, and it works seamlessly with Argo rollouts.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Luke has a question. How might this play with the rendered manifest pattern or the proposed dry hydrated pattern, where rendered manifest commits are disconnected in another branch from the source changes? And I think I'm more familiar with that one, probably, Dan. So what I would say there is that in the rendered manifest pattern, you need to have a mechanism to do the rendering. Right now, in those proposals, or the way that people are doing it, is with a CI process. You actually can render it. You can actually take what was already rendered and then just make the modification here. That would be the pass-through of how this would work. So you basically would render it once, and then it would be modified and pushed up each time. Or you can do it with the CI process. You can have it be part of the promotion flow process that you would actually do an additional render manifest push. So you'd actually have it separated. But I think that might be something that's worth like a demo and discussion. Most people probably aren't familiar with the rendered manifest pattern, but we can definitely dig deeper on that one.
And another thing that we're looking into this again, to enhancing the promotion that we have, because we are monitoring essentially the rendered repo. We're adding the ability to monitor essentially the generated or the generating repository and perform the changes there. And again, according to the same logic. So it's something that's not available as of yet, but is on our roadmap probably for 24, early 2025.
Another question we have was, how does this work with ephemeral environments? So essentially, I could have environments that are either fresh clusters, which I could just tag by name with wildcard, or I could have namespaces that are part of that, and they would just automatically join into the dashboard. I mean, you could make an environment called ephemeral that just targets ephemeral things, and as long as GitOps knows about it, as long as Argo knows about it, it'll automatically show up there, right?
Yeah, precisely. It's built for that.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, cool. Denny said, you know, we want Argo CD related things to not be provider specific. We don't want to depend on a CI server like TeamCity or Codefresh. We want these flows to just be working. Actually, all of these flows here, they're not Codefresh specific per se. I mean, the CI like the workflows that are running, these are actually Argo workflows, right, Idan?
Yeah, yeah. It's an open source completely, and everything is executed on your cluster. So the control that manages this promotion is run on a cluster. Yeah, but it is we did build something on top of the open source. So it is essentially our resources. But any application that you have here is completely backwards compatible. So there's no lock-in here whatsoever.
Yeah, that kind of goes to someone else was asking how proprietary is all of this. Really, like all of the components in terms of what's happening at the application level, what's happening for the workflows, all of that is essentially open source. The promotion flow, so that's kind of the controller that handles this, what we're looking at, these dashboards, that's part of the Codefresh product. But all of the components themselves are open source and generic, really. So you do need Codefresh to bring it all together, but all the components are there. So and that actually goes to another question. We have some Octopus deploy users who are asking, hey, I've already paid for an Octopus license. I want to use Codefresh. How does that work? We're going to have kind of a standardized approach to that. Right now, the best option is, hey, reach out to your account manager. There is a different licensing model for how these are currently licensed. We're working to update that as we go through, and we'll have more updates on kind of a standard approach. But you don't need to wait to use it. Reach out to your account manager right now, and they'll work out getting you into access and giving you an exact of how it would work with your current account. So that's a great question. Another question, and then and we can just open up to probably just general questions here. I know we have a few other things that we want to show, but another question we had is there a way to make named releases? Right now we're showing a lot of commits and SHAs. Is there a way to have a release be named specifically?
Yeah, so that's something that we're looking to release with the name version. It's not yet available, but it is on our roadmap. So stay tuned for this update.
Yeah. And of course, if you do use Git releases, like if you actually have like tagged release names and stuff, they would show up, but they would just show up with their SHA at the moment. So that's a great kind of request to potentially add in some additional kind of visibility there. Though it would show the named tag associated
Yeah,
with it too. So.
currently, essentially our release name is the SHA of the commit to the first environment. So this is what you see here.
Yeah, great question. Okay, cool. Let's see, and then that's it for the demo components. Do you want me to share the screen or
Yeah, so let me just run through. Yeah, please share the screen. Let's
okay.
run through the next
And
couple
again,
slides.
as we go through, keep sending questions. We do have some more time for questions, and keep those coming. This is great. I think people really appreciate the the interactivity of getting their questions answered right away. So let me share this. Because a lot of people are asking, hey, how do I get access to this?
So what's available? So how do you get access? So first of all, the products and environments dashboard are available right now to any Codefresh customer. And if you want, you can just sign up for a trial and play around with it and experiment. Promotion flows is currently in a closed beta. Reach out to your account manager. We can get you access to this. We're still fine-tuning a few bits, but it should be public beta later this year, where everything is very stable, working, and covering much more use cases than what we have at the moment. And I want to discuss a few things that are coming up next that we're also working on that I couldn't demo for you yet. So Dan, can we move to the next slide?
Yes.
So actually, this is a sneak peek of it, but Dan, let's move to the next slide.
Sorry.
Perfect. So what's coming next? What are we working on that's not yet a demo state? So One thing that I'm very excited about is environment policies. Now, this is something that I wish I had today. Essentially, it says that we can set up blackout windows or release windows to when deployments can occur. And I would have put that before this event so that no one screws up my demo accidentally. But this is something that we've seen. We've heard a lot of requests for, a lot of people excited about it. Setting up policies to safeguard when you can do promotions and when not to. Multi-environment rollback. So I have a promotion flow moving forward, but what happens if one of my environments failed? When do I roll back everyone? How does that logic work? That's something that we're, again, building into the product configuration. Trigger promotions. So right now, a promotion is triggered by a commit event, but we want to trigger the promotions based on OCI repo events as well. So whenever you deploy a new chart version or deploy a new image artifact, that will trigger, and we will handle essentially the first commit to the first environment and manage all of that for you. Again, the goal here is to remove all the overhead and work that you have to do in custom scripting that you do now. Another question which we kind of talked about before was it's composite products. So how do I deploy 3 products together and create a relationship between them? Because they should always be promoted together. So that's also coming. Third-party approvals with ServiceNow and Jira. So as part of the validations and we currently demoed a PR flow for approvals, but you might also want to open change requests in ServiceNow or based it on workflow state in Jira. So built-in integrations to those change management tools is coming. And promotion metrics. How long does it take from dev to reach staging? How long does it take from staging to reach production? All this valuable information is something that we want to provide accessible to our users so you can really understand, essentially enhance our DORA metrics with more fine-grained promotion information. So those are just a few of the things coming up, and we have much, much more on the way. So thank you, everyone. Yeah.
On that promotion metrics, Luke is asking, would there be a metric for each time this process saved me from potentially creating a production outage?
Yeah, we need to find a way to create a metric around that, but yeah,
I think we will essentially. I mean, there'll be a number of metrics associated with this, and so I like the idea of having one that is specifically the saved your butt metric. That's great. I think we can do that. Anon asks, I assume when multiple promotions run in parallel to the same environment, the environment gets locked and the changes are serialized and queued in order to avoid interference with smoke tests or something.
So sometimes you might want that, but sometimes you might want us to terminate a previous promotion because you have E2E tests that run for 2 hours and you know they're invalid and you just want to skip them. So we're actually going to build or allow you to configure the policy around termination or concurrency or queuing for promotions to suit your scenario, similar to what you would see in a pipeline, for example. Sometimes you would like to terminate all the previous pipelines, but sometimes you want to queue them depending on the different flow. So excellent question, and that's coming up as well.
Cool. There are some people asking if the docs are available. I think they are right now.
Yeah, there's a bunch of docs available. Some are on the way and coming as the feature progresses and mature.
Okay, cool. We'll share that out as well. Let's see, and then okay, cool. So we have just a moment here for questions, and while you're adding any questions to the QA that you have, preferably in the QA, it's easier to keep track of. We'll try to watch the chat as well, but I know some people are wondering, just wanted to hear how Codefresh works with Argo. So for those of you that don't know, Codefresh is an Argo contributor, maintainer. We actually are one of the original sponsors for the CNCF and for graduation. Argo was originally created by a company called Applatics, which was acquired by Intuit. And Intuit immediately sought a commercial partner to help maintain the project. And that's how we joined and have been maintaining the project for about five, 6 years now. We lead on contributing security changes. So in the last 6 months, in the last year, we've released not only the majority but the plurality of well, I guess that's backwards, but we've released, I think, about 2/3 of the security patches. So we have a special focus on security because we do have a lot of regulated customers who rely on super secure, super locked down Argo. They want to make sure there's nothing, no CVEs on their security scanners, and we're able to do that for them. We have a very tight SLA. So that's something too, if as you're using and looking all this stuff, that's something we can do. We don't do someone's asking if we do FedRAMP. We don't do FedRAMP directly. So we do have some third-party basically providers that will provide it as FedRAMP. So if you're interested in doing that, we can definitely help you make that happen. The other thing, there's some questions here about CI integration. So Brudon asked, we currently use Jenkins to build an Octopus for AWS EKS deploy. Does Codefresh replace both Jenkins and Octopus deploy? It's flexible. So we do offer a CI as part of Codefresh. So if you want to move your builds into Codefresh, you can. You don't have to. We have users that say, hey, I want to do GitOps promotion today. I've got 5,000 Jenkins pipelines. I don't want to migrate them all. Say, hey, no worries. Start doing the deploy, and it actually will integrate and show the information from Jenkins in the view. There are a lot of advantages to using Codefresh for CI. So you can create like a single pipeline that works for many microservices, many repositories. So you create one workflow, one pipeline that works for thousands of applications. So that's really nice. There's some caching things. There's a whole bunch of stuff. That's not really a topic for today. In terms of the deployment, if you want to do a GitOps based deployment, then the Codefresh is definitely the best option. If you want to continue, if you're happy with the traditional CD approach in Octopus that you're using to deploy to AWS EKS, more power to you. Keep doing it. And there are some advantages to that in terms of your ability to use runbooks and things. So it's really about, if you want to do GitOps, then Codefresh is going to be the option. And we find that a lot of people do. If you want to have that kind of traditional CD experience, then Octopus is like just a killer option as well. So both cases, depending on what you want to do, could make sense. Let's see, and then trying to see if there's any other questions. I think we might have answered them all. So I think let's move into the panel section here. And Idan, thank you so much. Any final words you want to
add? Try it out. We're excited. Try it out. Give us feedback. We're still working on some of the kinks, but we really feel that this changes the paradigm around promotion and makes it accessible and easy, and removes all the scripting and overhead. So yeah, thank you, everyone.
Cool. All right, so let's go into a little panel discussion here. First of all, I want to introduce Marino Wijay. He's a cloud native solutions engineering brilliant guy. If you don't follow him on Twitter, you absolutely should. Marino, any introduction you want to add for yourself?
Yeah, certainly. Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me, Dan and team. Like Dan said, you can find me on Twitter. I'm also on LinkedIn, but I specialize in the networking space. So if you're trying to find those integration points between what you're doing in the GitOps space and in the networking space, come talk to me. I love chatting about that stuff because I like finding ways to integrate Kubernetes, even Argo CD, a little bit of that CNI and service mesh magic all together, and provide some cool solutions. Reach out.
Fantastic. Thank you, Marino. And by the way, for those that were still wondering, hey, there's still some goodies coming later. There's going to be some more free codes coming out, so stick around for all of that. And then in the meantime, I would introduce Michael. He's been waylaid, so we'll see if he's able to join in the last minute. Michael is a fellow Argo maintainer. He's actually just became Argo CD project lead, which well-deserved. He has a fantastic job. So if he's able to join, we'll jump him in. Otherwise, we'll do our best without him. I know he's been waylaid. And then Beth, I'd like to introduce you. Thank you for joining. You're a staff DevOps engineer.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having me. I specialize more in the developer experience and helping teams build their best workflows to get their applications deployed to the cloud.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, that fits right into the Argo CD, the Codefresh. I mean, that's our jam. So thank you again, Beth, for joining. And Beth actually joined last minute yesterday, literally was like, hey, I can join. It'd be great too. So I'm really glad you could make it, and fabulous to have you here. So let's go into discussion here for a moment. I'm just gonna pause sharing. You know, we've just gone through and looked at what Codefresh is doing from a deployment, you know, CD, Kubernetes CD standpoint. We think that this is, you know, from our experience, we've seen people be hugely successful using these kinds of tools to deploy. In your experience, and I'm going to open this up to the panel, what are you seeing in Kubernetes CD land right now? What patterns are working really well? What patterns are you seeing that you're like, man, we got to retire those? And anybody have an answer, feel free to shout it out. And I see, Michael, you were able to join. Thanks for joining. We already introduced you, so.
Cool, thanks.
Marino, any thoughts on Kubernetes CD?
Yeah, you know, I think there have been a lot of different systems and ways and approaches to achieve that continuous delivery with Kubernetes. And, you know, there's also been standardization. And if you kind of think about it, continuous delivery can mean a lot of different things, either at the application level or even at the infrastructure level. I come from an infrastructure background, so for me, things like GitOps resonate very well. And all I can see going on right now is that there's a lot more convergence towards usage of GitOps, not only for Kubernetes workloads, but even traditional infrastructure workloads. Like we're going back to a lot of the bare metal stuff and finding ways to implement GitOps there, right? Using tools like Argo CD, plus some other additional glue if it's available at all. And then you start to think like, you know, there's so much power to be had with continuous delivery systems or deployment systems that can be applied in various dimensions. So I think you brought it up much earlier on around the edge and edge computing. That's a perfect place where something like Argo CD fits very well, especially when you're trying to have workloads run in certain environments, and then you have to do things like maintenance windows and you need to move things over or shift things over, and you have different flags to be able to achieve that. So what I'm seeing is more consumption, but not just in the world of Kubernetes, in other areas too. And it all started with Kubernetes.
Yeah, great. I'm seeing the same exact thing. What about you, Beth? Any trends you're seeing in the continuous delivery space, or things that you think aren't working well, people need to stop doing?
Well, I've seen a lot of things used for like CD to a stage environment, and then for teams to be more reluctant to CD to prod, just because of testing and things like that. So having the solutions offered by Codefresh, we're hoping that will help teams be able to have more confidence in CD to prod, so that they can have, you know, a lot of visibility and also a lot of ways to find out what happens if things go wrong, and easy ways to roll back when things do go wrong.
Yeah, better kind of controlling and visibility to what's going on, that kind of thing. That makes sense. What about you, Michael? Anything that you're seeing from your end in terms of just the state of Kubernetes CD, how people are deploying and what's working well or what's not working well?
Yeah, my professional focus has been very much on platform engineering recently, because Intuit has a really, really massive platform. And I think the strategies that companies use to expose their platform via GitOps to the users have massive impacts on how maintainable and usable that system is. So I'm seeing a lot more big organizations build abstractions around their Kubernetes manifests to help sort of protect the users from the platform and the platform from the users as they maintain the things that they care about in their GitOps repo. I think that's going to develop a lot over the next couple of years.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we had in mind a lot as we built this, was that we felt like there was a way to abstract away from thinking about applications. You know, okay, let's think about a product because it's actually thinking about the whole life cycle, and let's not think about Argo CD instances. You know, let's just think about an environment. And this is one of the things that I'm curious to see if we bet right on this, because we kind of bet that that if we could take the pain out of managing multiple Argo CD instances, that people would be more likely to move away from a hub and spoke model. Now, we can do hub and spoke, but you know, there are some challenges to running huge scale hub and spoke clusters and keeping everything up to date, and you know, handling the scale, the work queues and all that kind of stuff. So that's interesting. One of the things that I'm curious about to hear your thoughts on as a group are, we've seen definitely a lot of people pick up and start doing progressive delivery in the last couple of years with Argo rollouts, but not nearly as quickly as they've adopted tools like Argo CD. Why are people sleeping on rollouts? Is it because they just don't know how easy it is to do progressive delivery? Or is it because it's just not a priority? Maybe they don't see enough value from it. And Beth, maybe I can throw it to you first.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we've had teams. I've seen teams who use like bespoke deploy systems that are going from like ECS, where you have a lot of API calls and it's doing a whole bunch of things under the hood, and then you don't really have a lot of, it comes back to visibility again. You don't have a lot of visibility into what's happening. But with and I've had developers ask me this question like last week. It's like, how does this work? I can see my pods, you know, things are happening with my pods with deployments, and do I have potentially have traffic at one pod while the other new ones are coming up? And if you're just using regular deployments, then yes, that's the case. But if you're using rollouts, then we can offer solutions to them that allow them to have, like, I want all of my pods to come up and before the traffic is going to that new version of the application. And sometimes that's a safer case depending on your use case. And it seems to be, for the teams I've worked with, it's just more of a education about what you actually want to happen when your app is deploying. And for teams that came from a situation where they didn't have to think about how that would work, and now they have this new visibility and they can make those choices, it gives them a lot of options.
Yeah, great answer. Marino, what are you seeing from your end?
So I think capacity is a very constraining factor in how people can go about doing these progressive deliveries. If you don't have an ideal or like environment, it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to say, hey, I'm going to spin up a new feature and have a bunch of users test in this little environment as well. And so you start to see this anti-pattern of, let's just do a cutover, or let's just make sure that we can just remove the access to that old version and then point users to that new version, just like that. Like they would want to take those newer approaches, except it could be a cultural thing too, right? There's not enough education in the space of understanding how to do progressive delivery. I don't know how to do a canary release. I don't know how to achieve blue-green deployments. I don't know how to do A/B testing. And maybe that level of education, if you impart into those teams, they start to pick up on ideas as to how they can break up their processes a little bit better, and then rethink maybe some of their own capacity planning needs to accommodate for that. So maybe they're doing soft releases, maybe they're starting to leverage things like feature flagging even to that point. But you know, it's a multi-step process, and you have to kind of give them a warm entry point. So if you've got training to help them understand some of these fundamental concepts of progressive delivery, it's going to take them very far.
I think for the sake of, we are going to want to get into Jeopardy here in a second. That was a great answer, and thank you. I'm going to take one more question from the group, and I'll throw it to you first, Michael, since you didn't get to answer on that last one, even though I know you have a lot of thoughts about it. And if you have addition, you can add it on too. But this is a question from Hari. He says, I have a general question. I'm curious about, what do you think of DORA in your organization? I personally feel it is overrated and a buzzword. What do you think, Michael?
I mean, I think in general, like metrics are hard, and I'll I'll segue a bit from the previous question. I think that it's difficult to generalize progressive delivery because it's difficult to generalize what an application needs to express to your metrics consumption tool to indicate, okay, I'm healthy. I'm ready to take on more traffic. You have the same problem with DORA, which is you measure, okay, frequency of deployments, frequency of success. But when you really dive into, well, what's happening frequently? Are we making significant changes, or is there some churn that we're monitoring? What is success? Are we actually measuring something that meaningfully indicates that our application is behaving correctly? So I think the DORA metrics can be amazing, but as with all measurements, it takes a lot of care to make sure you're measuring something that really matters for the success of your organization and not just for the success of some dashboard.
Yeah, I agree with that. Either Marina or Beth, either of you want to answer as well?
Yeah, I can answer
pass
that
it to
a
Beth.
little bit. Yeah, there's it's really interesting looking at teams who have like short lead times, like teams who run regression tests and they're really mad when they take 6 minutes, right? Or versus teams that have to do overnight regression testing that takes multiple hours and requires manual testing. And how, it goes back to the progressive delivery as well, because like, how do you get to a CD model when you have to do that long amount of regression testing, and how do you help teams optimize that and break that out so that it's easier to promote on each change, so that they can get to the point where you're confident getting to prod with everything and being able to get back to a state that's valid very, very quickly, rather than having to wait for many hours for testing to happen. So those metrics, it's important to utilize those to evaluate your processes, I think, once you are able to capture them.
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as you understand what DORA is telling you, I mean, the question is sort of interesting because they say, I think it's overrated. And it may be in the questioner's organization. In most organizations, I actually think it's underrated. Maybe in theirs, they're over-vectored on it. But like, you can kind of hack these metrics a little bit. You can have an automated bot that is making your DORA look really, really good. So it's not really telling you anything that you wanted to know. But in terms of the correlation between good DORA metrics and high-performing organizations that are successful with their engineering, I definitely see a huge correlation. But again, you could game it, so it's not foolproof. Great answers. I know we're gonna resume on time, so let me share my screen again. So for Jeopardy, and thank you everybody for joining us. And again, we still have some goodies coming, so stick around for it. Where's my screen share? I've lost my screen share bar. I can't find it. Hang on. Funny. There it is. All right, we got it. Okay. All right. So for Jeopardy, okay. We've got you 3 panelists. You should have all received a link with a code to put in, and you should have all joined. Are you all joined right now? Everybody's got a thumbs up. Okay. So for the rules, you've got we'll read the questions. It'll take about 3 seconds. You've got about 30-second time limit before buzzers are going to be disabled. You can buzz it at any time during that 30 seconds, even if someone else is answering. So if you think you have the answer, buzz in. Even if you miss it, if the other person doesn't get the answer right, it'll go to you. If you answer incorrectly, the other team will get a chance to steal. And you must answer in the form of a question. It is Jeopardy, so you have to say what is, or who is, or what was. If you just at least try to get the question inflection on there. And of course, do have fun. The grand prize this time is a $100 Uber Eats gift card to whoever wins. And the questions are pretty general, so it shouldn't be too hard. And then we'll have a short bit of prize making in the end. So let me reshare this guy. Okay, so let me just verify before I share my screen. Beth, you are the sea star.
Yes.
Okay, Marino, are you the watermelon?
Yes.
And Michael, that means you're the penguin, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right, then I can get started. No, begin the game. Okay. All right, I can share my screen and we'll start the game. All right, welcome to Kubernetes Jeopardy. Some of these categories are getting a little munched. See if I can fix it slightly. Okay, so our categories are Kubernetes release team, you are going to win, angry man yells at cloud, get wrecked, this pod's for you, and the most important stateful set. So I think we're going to give it the board. First of all, the Argo questions, by the way, mostly not technical, mostly trivia oriented. We didn't want to give Michael too much of an advantage as he is the lead maintainer on Argo CD. So he would probably win on those categories. But so they're pretty general. Let's give it to you first, Beth. You get a pick.
I'll try. You are going to win.
For
100.
For 100. Question is, this animal serves as Argo's mascot. Michael, you've buzzed in.
What is an octopus?
That is correct. Specifically the Argonaut. All right, Michael, you stole the board.
Argo for 200.
You are going to win for 200. These 4 companies maintained and sponsored the Argo project at graduation, and this is the Daily Double. So I think this will make you type in an answer. Do you see an option to type in answers?
I don't.
Oh, I thought that's the way the Daily Double won. Well, Marino, you buzzed in, so I guess we'll give you the answer first.
So Codefresh,
Good.
Acuity, Intuit, and there's one more, and I think it's IBM.
I'm sorry, that is incorrect.
Damn it.
Michael, you have the steal.
What are Intuit, Red Hat, Acuity, and Codefresh?
That is
Okay.
also incorrect. Beth, you got a long shot steal.
Yep, that Red Hat was going to be my guess.
All right, so the answer is BlackRock, Codefresh, Intuit, and Red Hat. Acuity did not exist yet, had not yet been founded. So great. I see people playing in the chat. Keep playing in the chat. Denny got it. Good job. BlackRock donated Argo events, I want to say. Is that right? Okay. All right. Nice. Okay.
Rebranded as Acuity.
What's that?
And then BlackRock rebranded as Acuity, right?
Well, no, BlackRock is still a maintainer. They were back in the maintainers last week. I don't want to make him mad. Yeah, and Red Hat is technically IBM. That's a great point. But he had answered Acuity as well, but they didn't exist, so they didn't count. All right, so I think, Beth, the board is yours because you didn't answer incorrectly.
Okay, I will try Kate's release team for 100.
Okay, it's release team for 100. Kubernetes just passed this age milestone. Michael. Oh. Whoops, I answered for you.
We count that correct, right? What is 10 years?
Hari says Acuity was into it based on the history. Well, I mean, the question was what companies were. A lot of the Acuity guys worked at Intuit. That's true. All right. Yeah, we're going to give you the answer because I accidentally hit it, but I think you were going to say 10 anyway, right?
Correct. Yep.
All right. Kuber tennies just happened. All right. Your board, Michael.
Kate's release team 200.
Kate's release team for 200. This popular Kubernetes distribution is 5 less than Kubernetes. Beth.
K3-8.
K3s. I'm going to say it's close enough. K3s. That's right. Oh, we do have hints too we can add, but nobody's needed them yet. All All right, Beth, your board.
Okay, we'll try get wrecked for 100.
Get wrecked for 100. Setting these prevents resource deletion in Kubernetes. Michael.
What are finalizers?
That is correct. Your board.
Oh, this pod's for you 100.
This pod's for you for 100. Kubernetes uses this type of file to describe the desired state of an application. Marino.
What is a deployment?
That is incorrect.
Oh my gosh, desired state.
Beth.
What is a manifest?
That's probably close enough. I think we're going to give you credit. We were specifically looking for YAML because it's asked file format, but I think we'll give it to you. And deployment, Marino, you're not totally wrong, but your application does have more stuff than deployment. So we'll give it to Beth. So Beth, your board.
Okay. Angry man yells at cloud for 100.
Angry man yells at cloud for 100. This cloud provider was the first to offer managed Kubernetes. Marino.
Who is Google Cloud?
That is right. Google Cloud was the first one. Great answer. All right, Marino, your board.
This pod's for you for 300.
This pod's for you. This is always the problem. Michael.
What is DNS?
That is correct.
I tried to click the buzzer quickly enough.
Immediately. You all knew. You all knew exactly. All right. Michael, your board.
The most important stateful set, 100.
Most important stateful set for 100. This person is known for their contributions to Kubernetes and authoring Kubernetes the hard way. Marino.
Who is Kelsey Hightower?
That is correct. Your board.
All right. This pod's for you for 500.
This pod's for you for 500. A node level agent that runs on each Kubernetes node. Michael.
What is the kubelet?
That is correct. You know, actually, Daemon Set does run on every node, but it's not the node level agent. So good guesses from the audience here. Go ahead, Michael.
This pod's for you 200.
This pod's for you for 200. This is the error you'll eventually see when your container fails. Michael.
What is container failure backoff?
That's pretty close, but not quite. I'm not going to give it to you. Marino.
What is a crash loop backoff?
That is correct. Crash loop backoff. Someone said image pull backoff, but I said the container failed. The container never starts if it's an image pull backoff. All right, Marino, your board.
This pod's for you for 400.
The limit of containers in a pod. And this is a daily double. Sounds like. Marino. Oh, no, it's not a daily double. Never mind. Sorry. All right, Marino, your choice, your call.
Isn't this okay? Actually, I should not have picked. What is the number 3?
No. Michael.
What is the amount you can fit in 1.5 megs of YAML?
No, that is not correct. Because you could just increase replicas too. Well, no, that replicates an entire pod. What am I talking about? Honestly, not a bad answer, a creative one. Beth, do you want a chance to steal?
No.
Okay, the answer is there is no limit. Michael, I kind of want to give you partial credit almost because it's kind of a creative answer, but I'm trying to think if there's a way you could spam more there, but there is no specific limit. It's a trick question, so sorry for that. All right, Beth, your board.
Okay, angry man yells at cloud for 300.
Angry man yells at cloud for 300. This cloud provider hired one of the creators of Kubernetes. Marino.
Who is Brendan Burns?
It's the cloud provider hired one of these.
Oh, who is Microsoft?
That is correct. Yes, Brendan Burns.
Sure.
Microsoft. There were specifically 3 people credited with creating Kubernetes, and only one of them was works at a cloud provider, a different cloud provider now. So we'll see if there's any other questions about this. But Marino, you got the answer, so it's your board.
Angry man yells at the cloud for 500.
All right. Before it was GKE, it was this. Michael.
What is Borg?
No, incorrect. It is true that Kubernetes comes from Borg, but we're asking specifically about GKE here. So let me mark it. Marino.
What is Google Kubernetes Services?
Nope, incorrect. Beth, you want to try to steal?
No,
That
I don't
says
have
no. Somebody says collective. That's good. It was GCE, Google's container engine. Before they knew that Kubernetes was going to be a brand name that people cared about, they just called it container engine, which is confusing because, of course, there's Elastic Container Service on AWS, which is not Kubernetes at all. Totally different thing. Beth, you get the board.
Okay. You are going to win it for 500.
You are going to win for 500. This architectural model describes a single Argo instance managing many connected clusters. Michael.
What is hub and spoke?
That is correct. Marino's like, this is pretty Argo specific stuff. All right, Michael, you're bored.
Oh, it's funny because you dropped the answer like way earlier on in the live stream. So
I did mention it earlier. Yeah, if you're paying attention.
Let's see. Most important stateful set 200.
All right, the most important stateful set for 200. Kubernetes supports this number of versions, and it's a daily double. Michael.
What is 3?
That is correct.
Yeah.
3 versions. The current -2, which is the same as Argo CD. Your board, Michael.
Stateful set 300.
Stateful set for 300. He is one of the co-creators of Kubernetes and was a principal engineer at Google, now at VMware. Might be some Googling going on. Marino.
who is Craig? No. Dang it. Who is Craig McCluskey? Definitely not. I don't think so, but I think it could be that. I don't think he's at VMware anymore.
Not a hint. I'm gonna say, to be honest,
I'll just go with who is Craig McCluskey.
let me double check really quick. I think you are incorrect. Yeah, you're incorrect. Sorry, you were close. So close. He is one of the creators of Kubernetes. Anyone want to steal? The answer is in the chat. All right, the answer is Joe Beta.
Oh.
Oh, there was supposed to be a hint here. Wait, how do I show the hint? The hint was he's not alpha.
Okay, so technically he's no longer at VMware anymore. He's retired. Didn't he retire? Or didn't he like leave, or he's just doing his thing now?
Oh, that's a good question. Joe Beta. Well, his LinkedIn still says VMware.
Oh, okay, maybe not. I know Kelsey's
Oh
like
no, he left.
just
You're right.
chilling.
He left VMware. He's like retired. But I think the question was and went to VMware or something. Maybe it said currently works for VMware. So fair enough. I'll give you 100 points for the correction. And we'll let you take it, Marino.
All right. Angry man yells at cloud for 400. Let's try and catch up to Michael.
This cloud
Oh,
provider
gosh.
charges you 60 cents per hour to run. Oh, it is a daily double. 60 cents per hour to run older versions of Kubernetes. Marino.
Who is AWS?
That is correct. What a terrible, terrible tax. All right. Your board, Marino.
Ooh, all right. Kate's release team for 500.
All right. This is not a real Kubernetes release name. And it should show. Huh. Okay, the choices, it's a little confusing because it's supposed to show the choices and I don't see it. But the choices are well, Beth, I'll just give you the buzz. What were you gonna say?
K9s.
K9s is the correct answer. I don't know why it's not showing the other answers, I guess. So the correct answer was, all right, so it turns out the multiple choice didn't work quite properly. So thanks for bearing with me. I'll tell you what the choices were, and I'll be ready if there's another multiple choice to tell you. Oh no, it's this one. All right, well, I messed it up, so I don't know what I'm doing. So this one's broken. But the 4 choices I think were there's Munettes, right? There's like the cuddle one that just came out.
There's Kubernetes. That's the most recent one.
Yeah, it's Kubernetes. There we go. There's Kubernetes. That's what. Okay, here were the choices. Just so you know, Kubernetes, Planeternetes, the Raddest release, and Cybernetes, and the one that's not real is Cybernetes. All right, so Beth, we gave you the point for that one because I messed up the question and you were the first to buzz in. So way to take the initiative.
All right, let's try get wrecked for 500.
Okay. All right, sorry, I'm already laughing. All right, get wrecked for 500. This is the proper way to use the get bisect command. Beth.
Don't.
That is correct. The answer is no one knows how to use the get bisect command properly. So don't is a perfectly acceptable answer. Well done. That's worth 500 points. So you're bored.
Okay. I'll take get wrecked for 400.
Get wrecked for 400. Relying on these kinds of image tags will prevent a git revert from undoing a release. Michael.
What is unpinned or latest?
I'll tell you the hint is it doesn't sync.
Sure, like a latest tag, if you change your image and push to the latest, won't sync. But that's true of any unpinned tag.
We're gonna. I think your answer is technically correct. We were just looking for the term floating tag.
Sure. Okay.
Because it's not just latest, right? It could just be pointed at any kind of floating tag. But yeah, we're gonna give it to you. I mean, you've answered in a technically correct way, so we'll give it to you.
Let's see. Case release team for 300.
All right, for 300. This XYZ release naming convention lets you know when something major will break. Beth.
Semver.
That is correct. Semver. And in the context of Kubernetes and Argo, the first digit just means nothing and will never change based on experience. Yes, semantic versioning. Good call. All right, Beth.
K8's release team for 400.
K8's release team for 400. This is the standard limit of Kubernetes nodes. Marino.
255. What is 255 nodes?
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Michael.
What is 256?
No. By the way, is everybody getting the sound? I don't know if I'm sharing with sound. It just occurred to me that maybe I'm not.
I hear a buzzer come in whenever I hit the buzz.
All right. Well, good then. Answers in the chat if Beth, you want to steal it.
Oh, what is 5K?
That is correct. 5,000. There should be a bonus question for this. I guess there's not. Actually, it is theoretically the limit of number of nodes, but technically you can go beyond that. And Google in 2020 actually demonstrated a GKE cluster with 15,000 nodes. And I asked one time, one of the lead engineers at Google, if there were plans to go beyond that. And they said, if you need more nodes than that, you probably did something wrong. All right, Beth, you're bored.
Okay, you are going to win it for 400.
You are going to win for 400. This company created the Argo project. Give a second for the chat to catch up. See if people get their answers in there. All right, Michael, what's your answer?
What is Applatix?
That is correct. Applatix, which was bought by Intuit. And most of the Applatix team still at Intuit. Few people left, but Ed and all the original people still there. Very cool. Michael, you're bored.
Stateful set 400.
Stateful set for 400. This engineer, known for his work on Borg, also co-created Kubernetes at Google. Marino said the name earlier. Marino.
Who is Brendan Burns?
That is also true. Yes, Brendan Burns. That's right.
That's also true. Come on, Dan.
Well, no, you get full credit for it. I just couldn't remember because I was looking at that question and I was thinking, I think that actually applies to someone else too. Like I think it wasn't. I think that also would apply to Craig McCluskey. I think he also worked on Borg. But at any rate, you got it correct, so you win that question. So you get the board.
All right, the most important stateful for 500.
This executive director of the CNCF grew KubeCon from 500 attendees to 12,000 before passing away in 2020. Marino.
Who is Dan Cohn?
That is correct. Dan, a total legend, and we were sorry to see him go in 2020. All right, Marino, still your board.
Angry man yells at cloud for 200.
This is the CLI for provisioning and managing Kubernetes clusters on AWS. Marino.
What is EKS-CTL?
That is correct. We also would have accepted EKS control, EKS cuddle, EKS cuddle, and EKS cuddle, since no one knows how to pronounce it. All right, you're bored.
Get wrecked for 300.
Get wrecked for 300. When you ask someone to merge your code changes, Marino.
What is a diff?
No, a diff is involved. Michael?
What is a PR?
Yep, that is correct. A pull request. We also would have accepted merge request for all those GitLab users out there with their fancy different naming convention. Michael, you're bored. Only 2 questions left.
Get wrecked 200.
That you must use Git to do GitOps. Michael.
What is it is not true?
that is correct. That is true. It is false. You were correct that it is not true. Yeah, you can actually, GitOps just says that your state needs to be in a versioned and immutable data store. So you can technically use anything as long as it's versioned and immutable. We actually had somebody demonstrate sheet ops using Google Sheets, because you can actually do past revisions. You can actually version it, and it is immutable if you point at one of those previous revisions. We also have seen people use container registries as long as they're pointing at image digests, but any other tags are technically are mutable. So that wouldn't work. Those wouldn't work. But yeah, you don't have to use it. All right, there's only one question left. Michael, I take it you are going to win for 300.
Let's do it.
This Argo project came first. Michael.
What is workflows?
That is correct. The first project, Argo, was originally just Argo workflows, and they just called it Argo. And the trying to figure out how to get those workflows synced onto a cluster led to the creation of Argo CD, at which point the name was changed from Argo to Argo Workflows, and Argo CD was introduced as a new sub-project of a larger Argo project. Yeah, great job. Well, that means that today's winner is Team Penguin. That's you, Michael. Congratulations. With a close second and third. Actually, all of you did very well. I was very impressed with all of your knowledge as we went through this, and I think everybody in the chat was pretty good on asking questions too. So thank you, everybody. If you like Kubernetes Jeopardy, feel free to shout about it on Twitter and social media. Maybe we'll just do another random game. If you want to play, put it out there, and we could play again sometime. Now, as we come to the closing, where's my screen? You know, sometimes you have too many windows open and it becomes a problem. Nope, that's not the one. Jenny, help me out. Throw it in the chat because I'm lost. So as we come to a close here, I do have a few more codes to share with you. Let me put those up. Thank you, Jenny. Jenny's like, how did you lose your presentation window? I don't know. I lost it. It wasn't in Git, so I didn't know where it was. There we go. All right. Thanks for your patience, folks. And thanks for that great game of GitOps Jeopardy. That was fun. Okay. So next up, if you want to use environments and promotions, you can, and you're not already a Codefresh user, you can book a demo at codefresh.io/request a demo. We'll throw these links in the chat. We also, you can sign up for Codefresh free, and you'll get access to some of these features. If you want access to the private beta features, obviously you're gonna have to reach out. To get certified, learning.codefresh.io, we will put an additional code up here for people that still want the discount. And there are 2 more events scheduled right now at codefresh.io/events for Merging to Main, which is a very fun show hosted by our own Paul O'Reilly. He's a Kiwi, he's fabulous. Make sure to join that. And then finally, here's the new code. If you didn't get on the first one, because some people weren't quick enough, the code is IHeartK8s. And if that one fills up, you can still use Helm Yeah for 50% off. We don't give away tons of these codes. We actually have to pay for all of the labs that you do. So please don't do Bitcoin mining on them. Or pay extra for certifications if you want to do that. With that, thank you. Thank you to everybody that joined. Great work, Michael. Great work, Marino, Beth. Great work. And thank you for all of your fun conversation and insights and sharing those. Hopefully we'll have you on again soon sometime. Take care, everybody. Thank you.